Okay, this tutorial is showing how to create the Kumihimo loom. What you'll need is a piece of cardboard, 2-ply. It's 4 to 6 inches square. It can be any size really, as long as it's at least 4 inches, something big enough to hold. And just a pair of scissors and something to write with or draw with. I'm going to use this Sharpie. So the first step is to draw an X across the cardboard like that. The second step is to draw like a giant plus mark in the center. So that way, that way. So if you had a square pizza, you now have 8 parts. The next step is we have to kind of round off the corners. So what I do is I kind of give myself somewhere to start. I'm trying to round this like so. Keep doing that till you get all the way around. And one more. There we go. Now my hand's the right direction. So now you have a round pizza in a square box, and you have to decide like how thick the crust is going to be. So I'm just using some real life comparisons here, and I usually use my finger to kind of mark where that's going to take place, because you do want a little bit thicker crust, but not like all the way back in here. So then I'm just going to connect those, trying to keep it round too. This separates the crust from the cheese. So that's it so far. Next, on each pizza slice, you have to divide that section of crust into 3 parts. So, well, 4 parts actually, into 4 parts. So the first part, we're just going to divide that crust section in half. And then the left section we're going to divide in half again. And then the right section we're going to divide in half again. And we're just going to do that all the way around. So this piece I'm going to divide in half. The left section in half. The right section in half. I'm just going to turn. So each crust section gets 3 lines, but it's really important that those 3 lines kind of be equally spaced apart and that they're kind of pointing towards the outside circle. It just makes using this loom easier later on if your lines are going that direction. So 1 in the middle, 1 on each side, 1 in the middle, 1 on each side, 1 in the middle, 1 on each side. So there is my completed pizza crust, so to say, for this part of the loom. The next step is we are going to cut around that outside circle. So what I recommend is not using the tips of your scissors, because that's going to be really hard to get to cut through the cardboard. I would open my scissors up and use this back space where the scissor blades come together, because it's going to make pressing the scissors much easier than trying to cut with the tips of the scissors. So I'm going to cut the box away from my pizza now. And I'm not having to push too hard by using the back edge of those scissors. So that can go into recycling or wherever. And we're left with this portion of it. Now, what we need to do is we need to cut these lines that we drew on the crust. And I wanted to take a second to show you an additional one that you need to cut. So I'm going to cut this line, this line, this line, but I'm also going to cut this one and this one. It's really important to stop right here. Don't like cut into where the cheese is. You want to stop at that cheese line. So only cut until you run into where the cheese is. So we're just going to go around, and those are the notches that I need to cut all the way around. Okay. So I'm going to start right here on this one so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to cut this, but I'm going to stop when I get to the cheese. That smaller inside circle. Because if I cut past that, I'm just going to cut this whole thing apart, and that's not really what you want to do. You want just to have these notches around the outside edge. I'm just cutting all the way around. Don't skip any, but don't cut any extra ones. It's important that the same number of cuts are on each little pizza slice there. All right, there we go. So if you look on the back, you can kind of see how they're all kind of like equally spaced apart, those cuts are. But the front, you know, you can see the lines and everything. So the last step in creating this loom is we have to have a hole in the center. Do not use your scissors for this. The hole will be too big. What you need is just a sharp pencil with a point. And then you're going to poke this through the center. Now, notice that I have my fingers spread apart so I don't stab myself in the finger with a pencil, okay? Don't stab yourself in the hand or the finger with a pencil. Make sure you leave some space there, and you're going to take and just kind of push that through until you can kind of see it coming through. And then I'm really going to push my pencil all the way through, okay? So it's sticking out of both sides, and then I'm just going to kind of roll that pencil around in a circle, because I want to make that hole a little bit bigger, but I don't want that hole so big like I jam my scissors in it, okay? So it's about that size. It kind of wobbles, like my pencil's in there, it kind of wobbles, but that's all you need to do to create this Kumihimo loom. So the loom portion is finished, and we will discuss how to set up your strings in the next video. Thanks, guys and ladies.